What does Kellen Moore have to do to win Coach of the Year? Ladies and gentlemen, that's the question today on the Saints Squad Show, which has Dylan Sanders, Lance Moore, Ross Jackson, and John Hendricks. And Shaboy, the best in the world, face of the franchise. Okay, so we've talked about this before. Kellen Moore is in a situation where he could win Coach of the Year. He already checks a lot of boxes, right? First year head coach, bad team, potential for few more wins than the previous year. All that is what the voters look for. All right, so we're going to look at historical data and try and see exactly what he would have to do to win Coach of the Year.
Head man in charge, the brand new head coach, Kellen Moore. Now, it might seem a little bit of a long shot to consider him a candidate for Coach of the Year, but if you think about the situation he's taking over with, new coaches in bad situations get a little bit of leeway in those kind of conversations. And
all right, so before we go any further, let's take a look at what actually has created Coach of the Years in the last 10 years. All right, so in the last 10 years, here are the Coach of the Years. All right, now I have done the math for you. I've done some research for you. Okay, so Kevin O'Connell last year, Kevin Stefanski, Brian Daboll, Mike Vrabel, Kevin Stefanski, John Harbaugh, Matt Nagy, Sean McVay, Jason Garrett, Ron Rivera, Bruce Arians. Well, we didn't count Bruce Arians, but to 2015. So 3 criteria, if you will. What was their record the year before they won Coach of the Year? AKA, how many games were they plus? How many wins were they plus? Did they make the playoffs? And was it their first year as the head coach? All right. 2024, Kevin O'Connell went from 7 wins to 14 wins, plus 7. They did make the playoffs. It was not his first year. All right. 2023, 7 wins to 11 wins, which is plus 4. Yes, they made the playoffs. No, it was not his first year. 2022, 4 wins to 9 wins, plus 5. Yes, they made the playoffs. Yes, it was his first year. Brian Daboll's first year with the Giants. 2021, 11 wins to 12 wins. Only 1 win different. That's the shortest in the last 10 years. Yes, they made the playoffs. No, it wasn't his first year coaching. 2026 wins to 11 wins, plus 5. Yes, they made the playoffs. Yes, it was Kevin Stefanski's first year coaching the Browns. 2019, 10 wins to 14 wins for John Harbaugh for plus 4. Yes, they made the playoffs. No, it was not his first year. 2018, Matt Nagy. This is a big one, so far at least. But 5 wins to 12 wins. Okay. Set plus 7 in the win category. Yes, they made the playoffs. And yes, it was his first year. So crazy year for Matt Nagy to go take a 5-win Bears team. Then they win 12 wins, right? Make the playoffs, all in his first year. He wins Coach of the Year, and then they kick him the hell out of Chicago. Tough scenes for Matthew. 2017, this is a big one too. 2017, Sean McVay goes from a 4-win Rams team to an 11-win Rams team, which is plus 7. Yes, they made the playoffs. Yes, it was his first year. So this is kind of where that first year head coach bump kind of happens, right? McVay takes over the Rams. They jump up 7 wins. Nagy takes over the Bears. Boom, they jump up 7 wins. So crazy stuff there. 2016, this is your big boy. And this is kind of shocking because it's Jason Garrett. The Cowboys won 4 games the year before. All right, so they go from 4 wins to 13 wins. Okay, huge 9-win difference. Yes, they made the playoffs. No, it was not his first year. And then 2015, Ron Rivera go from 7 wins to 15 wins, which is plus 8. Yes, they made the playoffs. No, it was not his first year. So it needs to be somewhere in the neighborhood. Well, let's just do the quick math. So if you add up all the plus wins, it gives you a 5.7 average. All right. So on average, the Coach of the Year has to win or win more than 5.7 games than the previous season. All right. So for the Saints, it gives you a good idea of what they have to do. Right? They don't have to win the NFC title. They don't have to go to the NFC Championship. We know over the last 10 years, historical data says they have to make the playoffs, right? Because all 10 Coach of the Years in the previous 10 years have made the playoffs. Okay, the first year coach thing is kind of split. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's, 4 yeses on first-year head coach. So whatever, throw that out. But they have to make the playoffs 10-0 in the last 10 years, and they need to average about 5.5, we'll call it, extra wins. So where does that put the Saints? And this is exactly what I said a few weeks ago when we talked about this. Kellen Moore is 25-1 to win Coach of the Year. The Saints are 12-ish to 1, 10-ish to 1 to win the division. All right. If the universal truth, if they have to win 5.5 extra games, that puts the Saints at 10 to 11 wins. They probably win the division with 10 or 11 wins. They obviously make the playoffs if they win the division. So that gives you an exact science of what they need to do for him to win this award. Now, if you think the Saints can win 10 games and you think they can win the division, well, don't take them to make the playoffs. Don't take them to win 10 games. Don't take them to win the division. Take Kellen Moore to win Coach of the Year. Because if we know those variables come true, we know that he has a good chance to win Coach of the Year because of what historical data showed us.
And
that's how you do it.
It's not the last thing that could happen in the NFL season. So, John, why don't you start us off and talk us through what needs to happen for Kellen Moore to win Coach of the Year in his first
I just told you what has to happen.
Well, the short answer is a lot. But on a serious note, I mean, you let's look and break it down. You know, you got to go from worst to first, right? So they got to win their division. I think that's paramount for Kellen Moore in his first year. I think if you can hover.
You don't have to win the division. You do have to go to the playoffs. We would assume the fastest way to the playoffs is through the division.
Around 11 or 12 wins coming off of a 5-12 season.
Okay, so 12 is a lot. So like we just saw, 12 would get you to 7 plus 7 wins. On average, you don't need that many. Plus 7 is crazy. You know, 12 wins is a lot. 10 is probably the threshold. The only coach that's done it with less than 10 wins is Daboll in his 9-win year.
Season. I think that puts you in the conversation. I think that puts you in a really good conversation to win Coach of the Year. Now, look, I think the way the Saints would win some of these games would also help too. And just if they can show a complete turnaround, maybe go on a run a little bit and maybe put an actual win streak together. I know that's kind of foreign.
I don't think a win streak or anything would matter at all. I think just how you get the wins. What would help Kellen is if, like, Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler looked really good. Because if a quarterback looks good on a winning team, it's going to get attributed to a head coach or an offensive-minded head coach. So that could help. If the Saints are scoring 3, 6, 9, damn girl fine points a game and winning with the defense, that could hurt Kellen.
For what Saints,
if they're winning in 55, 53 shootouts,
fans are used to, right, in the past. But, you know, again, not be this Jekyll Hyde team, be a team that can come in, be a little bit dominant, win some games in some different fashions. Maybe he is a big difference maker in those, you know, essentially saying, okay, the offense will dominate this week and the defense dominates one week. And then maybe it's Kellen Moore with some of his trickery, some of his different things that we haven't seen. I mean, this guy is very intelligent when it comes to coaching. And like, I mean, he'll be the first to admit he's a football nerd, right? Like, I mean, which one of us really isn't? But like, I mean, a little bit extra
not me
when it comes to it. You know what I mean? Not Dylan. Well, how you gonna win? How you gonna win CAA if you ain't no football nerd? I'm just saying. But anyway,
punting,
good
just
luck.
punting,
yeah,
lots of punting,
punt it, stop defense. Good luck. But no, I just think that's the kind of turnaround that you need. Is that you have to go from worst to first. You have to have probably 11 or 12 wins and just change the face of this franchise. I just feel like if you hit on either Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck and they both have really good seasons, I think that is going to help you. I mean, it's kind of just like this cohesion for Kellen Moore, and it has to be a perfect storm. Respect to Marcus Colston too. Quiet storm.
I'm going to go through the last couple of Coach of the Year winners.
I already did
Kevin
that, Dylan.
O'Connell in 2024.
Dylan, I did it 20 minutes ago.
And Brian Daboll with the New York Giants in 2022. And I think that if you're thinking about Kellen Moore winning the Coach of the Year, you got to look at the Brian Daboll year. That was it was the surprise New York Giants. They were only 9-7-1. That is by far the most attainable.
What helped Daboll out a lot Okay, well, let me pull back the curtains here on a little. This is like now we're getting into the sports gambling kind of thing. So this is a voters award. All right, voter awards. You have to handicap the voters just as much as you handicap the coaches and the teams. Anytime you deal with a voters award, it always helps if it's a New York team, because most of the voters are East Coast, which means they're up to watch them. Like that was the big Toby Gerhart. The year Toby Gerhart should have won the Heisman, his biggest problem, Christian McCaffrey went through this too. Their biggest problem is that they played out west and voters weren't staying up to watch the games. When the Denver Nuggets won the NBA Finals, we had people on ESPN who during the playoffs who were like, damn, this team's pretty good. Jokic is pretty good. And it's like, yeah, where you been? The answer is they've been asleep. They don't watch those games. So New York teams, New York coaches, as Tom Thibodeau, they always get a bump up with voter awards. And this comeback player of the year, stuff like that, is all voter, all narrative. So that's what helped Daboll out. And what really helped him out was Daniel Jones. Same thing with Kellen Moore. If Kellen Moore can turn around, or not turn around, but if he can make Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck really good, when you have that offensive head coach and their quarterback's playing well, they get all of that attributed to them. So that would help him a lot if Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler was really good this year.
Well, because I don't think the Saints are going to go 14-3 this year. That'll start actually a new headline. Dylan doesn't think the Saints are going to win 14 games in 2025. But I don't think it's entirely. The last time a Saints coach won Coach of the Year was
obviously the Sean Payton year after Saints changed the world. But Jim Haslett did win Coach of the Year, so a lot of people wouldn't think that. Coach of the Year is interesting because, like we've seen with the list, like Jason Garrett can win it. Matt Nagy can win it. Haslett can win it. Like you can have a year out of nowhere and win Coach of the Year.
Shocker, Sean Payton in 2006.
Yeah.
But before that, it was Jim Mora back in 1980.
No, that's not true. Haslett won it. Haslett won it. Yeah, right there. Boom. 2000. Saints go 10-6. Boom, boom, boom. There it is. Right there. Bada bing. Bada freaking boom.
In the 80s. 87, I think. But, I think you really do have to look back to the Brian Daboll way of winning. Ross, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if you look at Coach of the Year, you get a lot of offensive coaches. That works in Kellen Moore's favor. That's kind of where it ends for me. I don't think that Kellen Moore is going to end up being in this conversation. Not this year. This is the beauty of Coach of the Year. You don't have to do it your first year as a head coach, right? Like you can build everything and then kind of get everything built the way that you want it and then potentially win it later on. This is, though, the biggest opportunity for him to have this turnaround, obviously, most quickly. But the thing that stands out to me, and if we're looking at like...
Well, okay, so if we're doing the math thing, all right, so again, this kind of... Now we're getting into like legitimate probabilities and all that. If we believe that the data and the trends are correct, which we have to, right? Their data and trends they are correct. And we understand that there's that 5.5 win bump, then this is the best time for Kellen Moore to win it. Because let's say he gets the Saints, let's say after a couple of years he works up, okay, the Saints are now an 8-9 win team. Well, now you got to win 13, 14, 15 games. So if you believe that 5.5 win is the threshold, or that 5 win bump is the threshold, even if you think Kellen Moore will be a great coach for a long time and he's building something, whatever, even if you take all that into account, this is the best time for him to win it. So, and it's also kind of crazy too when you look at the stats that we had pulled up. Every single year, not only is there a worst to first, but every year there is like a 7 win bump for a team. And think about some of these numbers we were just talking about. 5 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins. These aren't good teams jumping up from 10 wins to 15 wins. These are bad teams. 3 win, 4 win, 5 win, 7 win. Those are bad teams. So it shows you that this turnaround or a turnaround can happen quickly, even if it's short-lived in some of these cases where it's like, okay, they have a jump up and then it kind of unravels, whatever. But it can absolutely happen. You know, like the idea that everything in sports or the NFL is really slow, like the idea that, oh, it takes a couple years to build. Don't look at me like that, Lance. It takes a couple years to build. You got to get culture, identity. No, you can flip the switch pretty quick. Just ask the Saints in 2016, 2017, right?
FanDuel, for instance, plus 6,000. So he's tied with guys like Mike Tomlin, Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll, actually. And I think the other is Raheem Morris. So they're all kind of in that same group. They're at the 18th best odds, or not 18th best odds.
Wait, who?
If we're looking at like FanDuel, for instance, plus 6,000. So he's tied with guys like Mike Tomlin, Mike McDaniel.
Who is? Okay, scared me. When so not to be that guy, but plus 6,000 is 60 to 1. Okay. But when I heard plus 6,000, I was thinking, where the hell is that? Because I'm looking at 25 to 1 or plus 2,500, as some of my friends would say. Shout out PBS. But I was thinking, I got to make this bet right now. I was going to actively load it up and let it rip right now if it was 60 to 1. That would be absolutely insane. He is 30 to 1 on FanDuel per usual. Shop around. Always be shopping. Always get the best odds. I just pulled up DraftKings because it's easier to navigate. But yeah, so 30 to 1 is the number, right? As far as I can see, the best number. If you can find a better number, let me know, please. But it's not 60 to 1. Okay, 60 to 1 would be bad news bears for your boy. Bad news bears for the bank account, son.
Brian Daboll, actually. And I think the other is Raheem Morris. So they're all kind of in that same group. They're at the 18th best odds, or not 18th best odds, but they're 18th, tied for 18th place, if you will, amongst those odds. No head coach of the year, as far as I can find it, has won coach of the year with a rookie quarterback. And so right now, with the potential that Tyler Shuck becomes the starting quarterback, I think history tells you that those two things typically don't go well together in terms of.
I think the rookie quarterback thing is what I would think usually happens is the rookie quarterback probably usually wins rookie of the year, which takes away from coach of the year. But I would also like to know how many times, like given the situation or whatever. But I think it helps Kellen Moore, especially if it's like, especially if the quarterback gets a little bit of a narrative behind him. Now, then there is absolutely a question mark. Like, okay, would they give Kellen Moore Coach of the Year and Tyler Shuck Rookie of the Year? That is for sure a conversation where sometimes voters get fatigued with the team or whatever. So that's a whole separate thing. But I don't think the rookie quarterback necessarily hurts him.
Having a Coach of the year. And that, now history can always change. History always changes. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a said and done deal.
And I'll tell you this, I've told the story a million times, but DeMeco Ryans should have won Coach of the Year CJ Stroud's rookie season. And he only lost to Kevin Stefanski because a voter forgot DeMeco Ryans to put him on the ballot. Just flat out forgot about him. He lost in a tiebreaker. I remember exactly where I was at a huge ticket on DeMeco Ryans. And I mean, it was a lot. I'll tell you right now, I would have won $5,000. And I was at the House of Blues at a concert, and I had my phone out, and I was tracking it because I was expecting it to come in. We thought it was easy money. You know, we thought, okay, that's when they beat Indianapolis, and the winner wins the division. It's like, okay, he won the division, turned this whole team around. He's going to the playoffs. It's got to be him. And he lost because of that. And I mean, it just ruined my entire night.
Deal, but I just think that it's a lot right now for Kellen Moore to go in to this season and walk out as Coach of the Year. Not saying that it's impossible, but I think it's a really, really tough task for him to pull that off. Going from worst to first in the NFC South is not going to be an easy thing to do. Winning 10 plus games is not going to be an easy thing for this team to do. This team is still trying to figure out who it is. He was still trying to figure out who its quarterback is. And I think that all of that kind of creates a bit of a tough situation and a tough season.
Well, yeah, it's 30 to 1. Like, yeah, of course it's tough. But I mean, it's 30 to 1 for a reason, right? So, but like, think about it. Strip all that away, okay? if you just use the metrics, is it 30-1 that the Saints win 10 games? No. Obviously not. I could probably find the alternate win total somewhere here. All right, so this is an alternate win total for the Saints. And again, shop around, whatever. So if the Saints win 11 games, that's only 11-1. Okay, now I know it's not a true comparison because a lot's got to happen. It's not like, okay, they win 10 games, boom, he's coach of the year. But it just shows you this is how you attack future markets. You attack future markets by finding correlated things that'll happen and okay, which ones, what are the better odds, like all this. If the Saints win 11 games, Kellen Moore's coach of the year, 100%. If you told me right now the Saints win 11 games, there's no doubt Kellen's coach of the year. That would give him 6 plus 6 wins. The Saints would win the division. They'd be going to the playoffs. Tyler Shucker, Spencer Rattler would be, a heralded quarter. Like everything's working at that point. But look at how they get you. You can get 11-1, or you can find the better option and take Kellen Moore at 30-1. All right. So, this is why I'm delivering these golden tidbits, so you don't get caught taking the division bet or taking over 10.5 or whatever, and you find a better way to wager
this year for 2025, but an opportunity for a trajectory towards a coach of the year trajectory at a later point. I just don't see Kellen Moore being in that conversation this year right off the bat. If I'm being sorry to be the party pooper today, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I just
sorry.
Just not going to call on you the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But it kind of tells you it's true odds, right? Like it kind of tells you, all right, well, if it's 11-1 to win 11 games, then that's closer to what's actually going on here. When you start throwing in well, he's got to do this, he's got to do that, he's got to do this, he's got to do that, the Saints culture, Mickey Limits, whatever, strip all of it down, and you just isolate that 10 wins, isolate that 11 wins. And then you shop around and you realize, damn, 30-1 to get 11 wins or 10 wins or whatever is pretty damn good. Damn, 30-1 to win the division is pretty damn good. When everywhere else to win the division is 10-1 or 12-1.
On those picks.
Lance, are you more of a John or a Ross in this situation?
Rose.
Let's go.
We're being realistic here. The question was, what does Kellen Moore have to do?
Correct. Well, and look,
that was your question. My question was, Ross, what do you think? And so I just said what I thought.
So it's Dylon's fault. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the great part about being interviewed is you get to answer whatever questions you do or don't want to answer. So, and look, Dylan, you brought up Sean Payton, right? In 2006, that scenario was not a worst to first scenario. That was a worst to NFC championship scenario.
Right.
True. And I was on both the 2005 team, the Skrmetta Saints, when we were 3-13, and a win felt like.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, granted, it's a whole different situation, narrative or whatever, but that's +7 in the win cap, +7 and playoffs.
The greatest thing in the world, because there wasn't a whole lot of them. To Sean Payton the next year, the dome reopening, 10-6 season, number 2 seed in the playoffs, and obviously losing at Chicago in the NFC Championship game.
Crazy 10-6 gives you the 2 seed.
That was a lot, right? And I don't know that it necessarily has to be that, right? Like
it is not. It is not.
A 5-win season to the NFC Championship game, potentially to the Super Bowl this year. And I honestly don't even know that you have to go from worst to first.
I'm pretty sure the votes. I think this year the votes were submitted. You don't vote in the playoffs. So, all that isn't a factor, I don't believe.
Making it to the playoffs, even as a wild card, would make him an incredible candidate for coach of the year, considering all that's going on or all that has gone on in that building a little bit before. And since he's been hired as the head coach, the quarterback situation with Derek Carr, the new quarterback.
All that is good because it's building narratives for the voters. Again, you got to handicap the voters. So if they're hearing the Derek Carr retirement, the Dennis Allen firing, the this, the that, the Tyler Shuck stuff. I mean, all that is good. All that is a positive because it's building a story, and you do need a story to get voters.
The draft class, the not signing a ton of big time free agent guys, like the expectation level for this team is very, very low.
Yeah.
And I think a team that has it's generally the teams that aren't very good that end up having the coach of the year, right? We're not talking about
it's generally the teams that weren't very good.
Reed. We're not talking about a bunch of these coaches that have sustained success as coaches of the year, even though they probably could be coaches of the year every single year because they're.
Yeah, it's not about who's the best coach, which it should be, but that's not what it's about. It's about who did the best job, and the easiest way to determine who did the best job is by a turnaround. That's the most obvious way to say, man, this guy's doing a great job. Turn that whole team around.
They're doing such a great job, right? So he's checked off one box. The expectation box is already checked off. The new coaching thing, I think, kind of adds a little bit of momentum if he's a good coach and they're winning games. Oh, not only is this guy doing a great job, but he's brand new. He hasn't done this before. That adds a little bit more momentum to that. But I just don't see the amount of wins necessary that it's going to take. I would love for it to happen, right? Like just like the rest of us. And I do see there being potential for him to be a candidate or a serious candidate for Coach of the Year down the line. I just don't see that in year one because I think it's going to be tough sledding. Getting the necessary wins to make it to the playoffs. Because I don't see 8 wins making it to the.
And I'll give you this too, but when you get in these situations, like let's say the Saints are like a game behind Tampa or something to win the division. It's called monetizing a ticket. So if you have this 30-1 ticket, then all of a sudden you can like hedge out. You can bet on the Bucks to beat whoever they're playing in the last week of the season. I think the Saints play the Falcons. So it's like you can get creative and monetize tickets even when you don't have a outright winner. Like that's part of it. All right. So like for example, I have the Yankees to win the World Series. That ticket is going to be monetized way before the World Series because you just kind of hedge off of it, or you just start to find different ways to attack it.
The playoffs, even 9 is going to be tough to make it to the playoffs. Now if the division is down for whatever reason and the Saints somehow mess around and win the division with 9 wins, I think he's definitely catapulted up because they won the division. I just don't think 9 wins is going to win this division this year. I think Tampa Bay and Atlanta, I think they're just.
If the Saints can win 9 games, you should be able to monetize that ticket.
Shoulders above the rest of us. And I would love for it to happen. Like, let me say that first, but I just don't see it.
To your point,
road, right? Tampa is the team to beat. They are the standard.
Yeah,
Tampa
for sure.
Is the standard. Yeah.
To your point, you know who has twice as long odds to win Coach of the Year as Kellen Moore on FanDuel? John Harbaugh, Nick Sirianni, Andy Reid, and all of them. It's just like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but why do y'all think? Why we just explained why? Because they in order for them to meet the threshold of wins and all that stuff, they have to basically go undefeated. They have to win 16, 17 games. So that's why I'm saying it's harder for an established coach to win it. When Stefanski beat Ryans for it, the only reason he got it was because of the whole Joe Flacco thing, where he got a ton of credit because he was winning games with Joe Flacco. That was the whole thing. So the story kind of trumped everything that year.
Happened.
No.
So
it's almost like comeback coach of the year, almost is really what it is, right?
It's really a simple, like, it's just who did the best job that season. That is what the award is.
Like, it's the coach that brings the team back to something more than it is actually the best coach in the league.
Right.
Well, I
Yeah.
just think the standard for those guys is so high. What is it going to take? They're going to have to go undefeated, right? Like that's literally the only
Am I on a different
way
level or
that
what?
one of those guys is going to win. And since it has not happened, but one time ever, they know they can set those odds at whatever the heck they want because it's just not going to happen. The parity's too good.
Right,
There's too much going on in the NFL. The season is too long now. You know what? Give as many reasons as you want. It just isn't going to happen.
Even Todd Bowles is plus 5,000. They're like, if you have to play the NFC South twice a year, you're probably gonna be good. Is it bad that I still get annoyed every time I think about the Chicago Bears because of that 2006?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. A little master class on the future market and Coach of the Year betting. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.